Episode number 3, titled Lost Signal. Wasn't quite sure what we were going to get in this episode outside of the description, but the description alone definitely piqued my interest in regards to the idea of there being this signal that winds up getting broadcast, or that Solon and Zayto wind up sort of picking up a really mysterious signal, right? Don't really know what it's saying or who sent it, to say the least. So really interesting stuff. And I do feel as though this signal will definitely have bigger implications, certainly going forward in the future, whether or not they actually solve what that message is saying, or if they decipher it, or whatever the case may be. I really do have a feeling that it may play a pivotal role, or at least an important role, going forward in the remainder of the series, hopefully to be discovered eventually. I know somebody last week was maybe hoping that that signal was coming from Mick. You know, who's to say the least? We really don't know how Mick winds up actually coming over from Ninja Steel into this particular show, but we'll see. We'll definitely see, but definitely pay attention to that secret message, or that signal that's definitely came through. But one of the standouts to this week for me, guys, in regards to this episode, had to be Russell Curry as Zayto. I love just seeing him have the opportunity to kind of sit with his thoughts, reminisce a little bit, and really get to show just how much Zayto truly is missing home, right? Granted, while he does have a new group of Rangers that he has to sort of train up, if you will, I'm sure anytime he's got the opportunity to himself, his mind probably is on his planet, right? And on his family and his friends. I mean, very, very reminiscent to that, but well, I don't want to say very reminiscent, but it definitely has those Coda vibes from Dino Charge, at least the idea of being sort of trapped in time and being awoken in a time period in which you're not familiar with. But when it comes to Zayto, this guy has experience, right? He has life experience. He's lived a full life. He's been able to experience things with people that he loves. And the notion and the idea that you literally were fighting next to some of your brothers and sisters in arms, if you will, clearly getting an opportunity from the flashback in here, realizing that he probably also left his mother behind, or his mother wind up maybe dying during the attack on Rafcon very early on. Who certainly knows? But the fact that he still has those memories are probably extremely still vivid to him, if you will, to be able to see Zayto having to express the idea of loss and grief a little bit, and really, I guess, a sense of maybe helplessness, right? You know, you clearly get to see him maybe doubting himself a little bit. The idea that, you know, maybe they weren't able to necessarily get the upper hand on the monster this week, and you see the toll that it winds up taking in regards to the entire town sort of being hypnotized, or at least stuck in place by this monster. And you clearly get to see that Zayto really has no answers for himself, or no way to kind of get around it. But it's really the words of his mother that we see here in his flashback, that idea of really never giving up. And I feel like that's really been a theme of Power Rangers for the longest time, hasn't it? Like, I feel like just the theme of like never give up sort of thing maybe goes all the way back to like Wild Force or something like that, right? Like, it's definitely a trope for Power Rangers that continues to push through all the decades. And I really continue to love the message that it certainly sends, that despite the fact that when you look around and you see yourselves in the dumps, if you will, or circumstances may not be what you want them to be, or you may not think you're capable of certainly solving the problem, right? The idea that we have Zayto with his pendant that his mom gave him for, I think he said, for becoming a knight of Rafcon, and all his hard work that he's kind of put in. Just the notion of, hey, listen, you've come this far in your life, right? So no sense in giving up now, right? So really never giving up. So I really love that mindset, and I love the way that Russell Curry carries himself as the Zayto character. Again, I think he's capable of definitely tapping into a ton of ranges that he wants to get into. Again, whether it be comedy, whether it be drama, and that leadership mentality. I think Russell Curry just does a fantastic job with that as Zayto. So I was really pleased with what he wound up doing. Give me a moment here. Let me go ahead and pull up some of my notes. Just want to make sure I have everything in front of me, especially when it comes to talking about Zayto. But I will say this, one of my favorite scenes towards in this episode when it comes to Zayto is probably the ending sequence when we have them realize the idea that while they don't necessarily know what the signal is telling them. I love the fact that Russell Curry sends out a signal himself, almost like I know he's trying to find his people out there and he's trying to communicate with people out there, but the way that it came across was very much like a message to the rest of the galaxy, that Power Rangers Dino Fury is on Earth and, they will be kind of there to protect it, if you will. So I love just that announcement, that the Power Rangers are in fact there on Earth, if you will. And hopefully we'll get ourselves another signal now that while we got a signal, now that Zayto's sending out a signal, maybe there's one that people will recognize this signal and be able to understand it and send one back that we certainly can as well. So who knows, maybe Mick picks up on Zayto's message. So these signals that are going out and coming in, I definitely am going to be fascinated to see what role they definitely play going forward. I was like sitting there trying to decipher the message myself, as much as it sounded like a bunch of jumbled. I was like, is this alien Morse code? What's going on here? Type of thing. I really love what they wind up doing, and of course, I love just the amazing Daredevil impression that we get here from Zayto. His ability to go ahead and use the Sonic Dino Fury key when he realizes that he can't look at what was her name, Vipera or something like that, Vipera, because she definitely has the elements of classic Medusa, right? You look at her, you turn to stone type of thing. So really the idea is you cannot look at this monster at all. So we get Zayto doing his best Daredevil impression, putting the blindfold on, if you will, ducking and dodging out of the way. It's just some really great stuff. I really also love the abilities and the fact that they can still continue to use their power-ups even when they're not necessarily fully formed, right? Because even in his regular human form, Zayto was using his sonic dino key, and you can see like the sound waves going into his ears and things like that. I absolutely love that. I did love, there was a line that Zayto wind up saying in here also. I think the monster was like, I can't remember what he said, something along the lines of, "Well, I'm gonna break something," and I'm like, "Yeah, you about to break that ass. You better be careful because Zayto about to put that ass whooping on you." Russell Curry just does it for me, man. I think he's a great Red Ranger, one of my favorites, man, so far, especially when it comes to the Neo Saban era. It's probably got to be up there with Tyler at this point in time. I mean, Russell Curry feels like he's about to just lay down some groundwork in regards to why he's probably one of the better Reds that we've had in a really long time. Again, no disrespect to Tyler. I love Brennan. Anytime he wants to come back on the show, please. But there is something that goes a long way of having a Red that is a mentor, that already has sort of that leadership and kind of carries it over with him. And I think Russell is just really doing a fantastic job in regards to that. But let's see here. What else did I want to talk about today? We got to talk about Ollie and Amelia for these two. First and foremost, Hunter Deno continues to impress me as Amelia. It's something about her enthusiasm that's honestly just super infectious. It feels very much as though Amelia's playing that role of the viewer's point of view, like how we would probably act if we had that ability for the first time to be able to become Power Rangers and experience power-ups and experience Zords for like the very first time. Her little line of like, maybe we should take a selfie in here type of thing. Like I love her mentality and the enthusiasm that she winds up bringing. Is that a mullet? I don't know. I'm not really in that camp, but I definitely do enjoy what Hunter Deno is definitely bringing as Amelia, and I continue to really love just the chemistry between Ollie and Amelia in here. Right, it's almost like we got these two characters that are just on the complete opposite sides of the spectrum. One that believes in the supernatural, one that's just very skeptic, right, and just believes in science and things like that. So I love the fact that this storyline this week really focuses on the idea of these two kind of trying to decipher the message in their own ways, right? So the idea that we get introduced in here to Madame Indigo from Hunter. Madame Indigo is in fact a psychic, as she certainly wants to tell us there, and tries to go ahead and decipher not only the message for Zayto. I think she winds up utilizing the pendant that Zayto winds up handing over to her, and I think Zayto's kind of like, hey, you come from a faraway place. Hey, she nailed it, right? She knows exactly what I'm talking about. But then immediately you get to see that Ollie needs to go ahead and kind of test this psychic out, and unfortunately this psychic fails miserably. But I really love just the sequence of Ollie and Amelia, just the idea of like just pretending that they're getting close, and like what did he call her? Honey what? Honey Munchkin? What did he call? I don't. If you guys in the live chat, what exactly? I can't remember exactly what he wind up calling her. Honey Munchkin or Honey Munches. I don't remember what it was, but I thought it was hilarious. Just especially the putting his finger over the lips. And if you watch Kai, he's literally moving his finger around slowly, like don't say anything. I love it. And Amelia's just honey muffin. That's what it was. Thank you, Jinsaku. Jinsaku said honey muffin. It was perfect. Like I can't recall Power Rangers ever doing that in the past. And I think I even saw this from you, Jinsaku, on your Twitter account. The idea that like other Power Ranger series would have never done this type of dialogue before ever, right? Like Saban would have been like, no, we can't have any of our Rangers calling each other honey muffin, let alone like shushing somebody. I thought it was brilliant, but I also love just the reaction from Amelia, like, no, like we're not together, and brushing his arm off and stuff. Again, it feels very much like just Hunter and Kai are like behind the scenes, probably their relationship as far as like friendships go, like the bonds are maybe getting a lot closer. Like they look like they're having fun when they're doing these particular scenes, and I love the way that it's really coming across on screen for them. I really just thought that was a brilliant moment because it does seem as though that's going to be like the running gag between Amelia along with Ollie, not necessarily the one up, but the idea of maybe trying to prove to Amelia his points of view countless times, right? Because we've already seen or already heard Ollie kind of taking shots at Amelia in regards to, why are you believing and stuff like that. I do feel as though we may get to a point in this season where that becomes an issue with those two, where maybe Amelia's kind of fed up with the pushback that Kai's kind of been, or Kai, that Ollie's maybe been kind of giving her, if you will. But it is a storyline that I've been enjoying, just the back and forth, trying to prove each other wrong type of thing. Like the idea that even after the Madame Indigo thing, Ollie looks at Zayto and just kind of like winks at her, winks at him real quick before they leave. So he knows exactly what he's doing. And I don't necessarily know if Amelia is completely on board with that as of yet, but I do think that it'll be fun to see what their chemistry is certainly going to be like, right? Like, is this going to be a foreshadowing of things to come for Amelia and Ollie, right? Like, will they eventually start getting closer, or is this strictly going to be a friendship thing between them? Regardless of the route that they go, I'll be fascinated. But I will say I am enjoying just the chemistry between these two, and considering the fact that they're some of the first people that we wind up getting introduced to for this season, it definitely makes sense that we probably have one of the strongest bonds with these characters, and that they have an extremely strong bond with one another, really kind of coming from the ground up together, if you will. So I really enjoyed that stuff between them here this week. And also what I did love about this too is that as much as either or, I don't want to say they're going out to necessarily prove each other wrong. That they're definitely not. It doesn't seem like they're trying to do that. They're all just at least trying to go down their own paths that they feel is going to be helpful, right? The scientific route or the supernatural route. And I love the idea that both of their ideas don't necessarily work, right? Like, I don't necessarily know if you want to go out and deliver that message, right? Like the idea of supernatural over science, or science over supernatural, right? Let's make both of these options actually fail by the wayside, and kind of show you that even despite this, you still can't necessarily solve your problems, right? So it's not what's better or what's going to get you the answer at the end of the day. So I do think that there's something important in the idea that both of their routes unfortunately did not wind up failing for them, unfortunately. unfortunately. But I really did enjoy what we wind up getting between Ollie along with Amelia here this week. And again, Amelia continues to grow on me. Her enthusiasm just makes me feel like she's speaking to me as a viewer, because I know that's exactly how I would certainly act also. Who else we got in here? Lindsay, what's up, Lindsay? Appreciate you certainly coming through. She says, I ship Zayto and Amelia. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens as the season progresses. I may need to see a little bit more of them together for sure. But Zayto feels like he is very much kind of focused on his own life, planning on training these characters. But, who's to say when we get to season 2 that things certainly don't change. At first, when I will say this, at first when they showed us the flashback for Zayto, I thought the woman that we saw, I was like, "Ooh, is that his wife? Is that like an old girlfriend of his, an old love?" But it was his mother, which I think was just even that much more impactful. So I thought that was pretty cool to kind of see his mom. And again, the idea that Power Rangers has no problem in highlighting our characters' parents in here, really having some sort of fundamental role to kind of play in their kids' life, if you will. We've seen Dr. Akana already have an impact in the first 2 episodes. Zayto's mom pops up in here. We've kind of already seen Warden Buzzkill, or Warden Garcia, who I'm still assuming is probably going to be the parent to Izzy and Javi, but we'll definitely see as we get to that particular point in time. Let's see here. I thought the Zord battle in here was interesting. I am kind of digging the idea that these Rangers don't necessarily have to destroy the villain completely for this creature to kind of grow. Like, they can kind of grow whenever they certainly want to. I've actually really enjoyed that. And the Zord battle kind of really worked for me also this week, getting introduced to the Ankylo Zord and the Triceratops Zord for both Amelia and Ollie. And then also on top of that, the Mega Fury Saber wind up making an appearance in here again. And I have a feeling that that's going to be very reminiscent to the canon that we saw from Beast Morphers. The idea that they're going to probably use this as the final strike for our characters. But listen, I love the design of the Mega Fury Saber. Anytime you want to give me an original weapon, I'll definitely take it. Just make sure that you actually sell that weapon. Like, I would love to see them sell like these life-size replicas of some of these weapons that they wind up creating, honestly, like Hasbro. Let's get on it, man. Let's get on it. I think, price that bad boy at like $200. Trust me when I say Power Ranger fans will flock for that Mega Fury Saber. So yeah, let's go ahead and get some life-size weapons here. And also, the music for the Zord battles continue to impress me. The T-Rex champion Zord last week, after it defeated the monster, it had like this opera sort of like vibe to it. It was like, it was pretty epic in its own right. And when I get the opportunity in this episode to see at maybe was it when they were getting into the Zords? Yeah, I think when the Zords were when they were transforming, when all 3 pieces were coming together, the music just hits differently. I'm wondering if this is like, if the theme is Go Power Rangers, just maybe like a different rendition of it. You know what I mean? Like, just moved around or done differently with it. But I feel like there are elements of Go Power Rangers in that theme song, but I certainly could be wrong. JB says not $200. Well, listen, man, people were literally dropping $125 for 1 volume of Boom Studios comic books for like 12 issues or something like that. People were dropping $120. So I think people probably would easily drop 200, like 199 for a life-size Mega Fury Saber. That's just how I see it. Like, if they're going to pay $125 for just one hardcover book of comic books, I think some fans will certainly dish out a pretty penny for that. But maybe I'm wrong. Let's see here. What else do we got? Also, quick honorable mentions does go out to Jay Borg, which I thought was her and Janet this week. Was it Jane? I can't remember the editor's name or the manager's name from Buzz Blast. But I think I'm really gonna like these two together. Jay Borg makes me laugh. I love just her facial expressions alone. So I think that's probably gonna hold me over relatively well. I won't necessarily go so far to say that this is our new comedic duo, because we have seen them utilized in other ways. But we'll see. We'll see. They've been doing such a really great job when it comes to the dialogue. I am kind of curious to see how these two will certainly. Oh, I meant to pull that down. Sorry, JB. I will be interested to see exactly how these two fit into the remainder of the series. But Jay Borg definitely is growing on me. And one thing that really jumps out at me that I really loved is that the fact that they're actually using the Power Ranger hotline. The fact that Zayto got up in front of the camera on Buzz Blast and, literally sent his message out to everybody. The fact that they, I just thought it was going to be like a one-off. The idea like, yeah, if you see Sporks, give us a call on the hotline. I was like, oh, that's a cool little message. I didn't know it was actually going to become a thing and actually be on the show this week. So the fact that people can call up the hotline in order to let the Power Rangers know where the nearest sort of Sporks uprising is certainly happening, I think that's a really cool idea to really allow not only the law enforcement to kind of get involved, but the people also to be able to kind of give their hot tips, if you will. So I thought that was pretty neat that they decided to go ahead and actually run with the hotline idea this season. And then last but not least, just I want to talk just briefly about Solon, because I love just the effect of her cyborg eye. One of the reasons why she didn't fall under the spell in this episode, I when I go back and I watch the scene of when she's examining Zayto's pendant and realize that she could utilize that pendant to give them a new modulator and kind of help boost the signal, if you will. I am curious if that the eye itself, if that's like a practical effect, if that's actually part of the costume where it comes out and it like focuses and then goes back in, or if they just used special effects or CGI for that particular shot. Because I've already been impressed with just the costume design for Solon, but if they're going to go that extra route and then also give her a mechanical cyborg eye that literally goes in, focuses, and comes back, like that's pretty impressive. I feel like when it comes to just costume design and making. But again, I when I watched it, I could not tell if it was actually I could not tell if it was actually CGI or a practical effect that they wind up putting together. But overall, guys, I really continue to enjoy this episode. Maybe not as impactful as the first two, but one that I definitely enjoyed because of the fact that I've really have come to appreciate the characters, the cast, and really the idea of what Simon Bennett and the brand new crew, it feels like, is really bringing to Power Rangers. We did have a new director this week, which maybe at times, felt like a little bit old school Power Rangers like we were used to having. But there are some pretty cool shots in here from the director that I appreciate. Like when we get the opportunity to see Amelia and Ollie face off against the monster by themselves for the first time. I think it winds up freezing Zayto and chopping them down, and it's just the two of them. I love the shot of them turning their backs to the monster so they're not looking at it, and then hitting us with their morphing sequence, going back and forth and sort of matching up their movements, even though they're not able to see each other. I just thought visually, I thought it was just really stunning to see, and I really appreciate how they wind up shooting that sequence, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed this stuff. I'm really looking forward to it. It sucks that we have ourselves a hiatus next week. But Simon Bennett has even come onto Twitter and said, "Do not sleep on episode 4. It's one of his favorite episodes of this season, and he's really looking forward to how everybody's certainly going to react towards it. So I for that alone, I'm definitely hyped for episode number 4. But another successful one, again, maybe not as impactful as the first 2 episodes, but one that I really enjoyed because it was certainly carried by some great emotion from Zayto and some great comedy also, whether it be from Jane and Jay Borg or just the fun rivalry that we have between Ollie and Amelia in regards to, science versus the supernatural. I really continue to enjoy what they wind up giving us here. So guys, at the end of the day, these are just my A+ opinions, but I certainly want to go ahead and know yours. So please let your thoughts be known in the live chat or in the comment section box below.